Hey everyone, it's Balrog. Welcome back to part 3 of my guide to the Monopolized achievement for the Halo Master Chief Collection. This is the level Metropolis. And I did something a bit different for this level than I did on the first two. So what I did was I did 2 full runs of this level. One is a total speed run in which I did all the skips, and the second one is a run that I did a little bit slower, and I used some alternate strategies. So if you have trouble with certain skips in the traditional speed run, you can use those strategies instead to clear a bit slower. The time difference isn't too much. I think on the speed run it's a little over 5 minutes, and on the run with the alternate strategies I think it was about 8:40 or so. Anyway, the important thing is these skulls here. So on the traditional speedrun, I used no skulls whatsoever. You especially do not want Sputnik or the Grunt funeral skull when you're doing the traditional speedrun. And then on the alternative run, I did have both Sputnik and the Grunt funeral skull as well as the Boom skull. So, I'll be bouncing back and forth between those two runs a couple of times here, but we are going to start off with the traditional speed run. So we are going to want to swap your submachine gun for that Marine's rocket launcher first, then go get in the Warthog and lay on the horn to show the Marines how displeased you are at the lack of urgency they have during a speed run. So you want to get at least the gunner there. You don't really have to get the passenger if one of the Marines decides to dive to the side and act super slow. But you do want to get at least the gunner so that you can have a bit of a bullet sponge and a bit of a deterrent for the ghosts. Generally, except for this ghost here, I believe, they will generally try to avoid running directly into the Warthog, so you should be able to stick to the left side and avoid them for the most part here. Since there isn't too much to talk about on the bridge, let's go over the 3 big skips in this level real quick. The first one is the Warthog run through the tunnel, the second one is boarding the Wraith in the second area, and the third one is getting onto the Scarab early. I have included alternate strategies for all 3 of those here. And for this barricade here, you can either go around to the right, but it is a tiny bit slower and the ghost might fire on you a bit more, or you can squeeze into the left right there.
Quite a welcome
So
party.
the first skip we're going to do here, which is driving the Warthog past the enemies in this tunnel, is probably one of the deadliest parts of the game. It is the deadliest in my opinion, even more deadly than the first from the Gravemind, just because you can drive perfectly, you can do everything right, and the Jackal snipers still have a pretty good chance to kill you. So, I do have this in slow motion in just a moment, but let's see it at full speed first. Drive right through this little crevice here, around to the left side of this yellow vehicle. Then you're going to want to go between the blue and white vehicles here. Sometimes it's a bit of a squeeze. Then hard right here, hard left here, another hard right, and that should get you in here. And we can now drive the Warthog through the rest of the level until we get to the part with the Wraiths. So, in slow motion one more time, you're going to want to stay to the left by this truck, and about the time the Warthog front tires are even with the back of it, swing hard right. Then about the time your tires are hitting the top of this little ridge, swing hard left. That should get you through this little section right here. And as long as you weren't shot by one of the 99 Jackal snipers in this room, you should be able to swing a hard right and get out here. You may have to revert to that checkpoint a few times to get through here. It is perfectly normal. Even during world record full game speedruns, runners die there all the time. So now we are jumping to my alternative run here. We are just going to clear this tunnel, kill these 3 Jackals, pull out your rocket launcher, and there's a group of 2 elites and a few grunts here. Shoot a rocket in to soften them up. You usually get quite a few kills there, but I did not get any in this run whatsoever, although I did soften up that elite there. So toward the end of this tunnel, there are 2 Jackals and 1 Jackal sniper, generally sitting up on that little section. You're going to see me take my rocket launcher here, and you want to be out of line of sight of the Jackal sniper, shoot about right there, and you should get a triple kill and kill all 3. And behind this white structure in front of us, there is always a Jackal sniper, and then further back there are 2 stealth elites we have to deal with. This Jackal sniper will almost always put his back to you, shoot twice very quickly to make him turn around and get a headshot, then throw a grenade right here and shoot a rocket, and you should see a double kill, indicating you've killed both of those stealth elites there. You can use your last rocket here however you see fit, preferably better than I did just there. Right now I'm going to go look for a plasma pistol to swap my rocket launcher out with to deal with this red elite and the next wave of enemies that are coming through that section right there. I also highly recommend that if you can, you pick up the beam rifle from where that Jackal sniper dropped it. However, you often don't have time before this next wave of enemies arrives, and it often gets blown to oblivion like it did for me right here. So, up on the right, always throw a grenade here because enemies love to hide in that little crevice between the wall and that little structure. And if you happened to have noticed, as soon as that grenade blew up, a Jackal sniper and his beam rifle went flying off to the left there. I am, in fact, going to go ahead and take the opportunity to swap to the beam rifle, although sticking with the plasma pistol and battle rifle combo is a perfectly viable strategy here as well. Although I do recommend picking up a beam rifle sometime before you leave this area in case we need to use it for the alternate strategy with the Wraiths, but if you cannot find one if it got blasted too far, there is a crate of beam rifle right behind where I just zoomed in right there. Always be careful when moving around to the right side of the structure because Jackal snipers love to hide back here and pop you as soon as they see your head. The last enemy that rushes you is going to be this Sword Elite. As soon as you deal with him, we can move on, but do not go to the right into the tunnel yet. You want to drop down here because there is one more Jackal sniper waiting here for us. Back up slowly, and as soon as you see his Mohawk, plug him right in the head, and that should do it for this area. So for the next section here, in both runs, we're going to want to drive a Warthog through to the Wraiths. However, we don't have a Warthog on this particular run because this is our alternative route, so we're going to need to take the Marines down here. Backsmack this Jackal sniper and then shoot the Grunt over there so that he does not get on that turret. And then we're going to want to turn to the left, and you should see Warthog coming here. He loves to run you over, so get in front of him and back up, and he should stop. Leave him stranded there because he deserves it for hitting us in past runs, and then we are going to just do a standard driving procedure here. Make sure to watch out for the Scarab's legs and then swing up behind this Wraith and into this tunnel. This driving section is pretty much the same for both the speed run and the standard run we're doing, so I'm going to cut back to the speed run in just a moment and show the Wraith board using that method. So you're going to want to drive at this Wraith almost, but not quite head-on. You're going to want to be offset a little bit to the right. And then as soon as you get close enough, you're going to want to jump out of the Warthog and then immediately jump again to prevent the Wraith from running you over, and then get on the Wraith immediately and start meleeing. You can plant a grenade here. It does take a little bit of health away from the Wraith, but it doesn't matter too much. Dealing with this first Wraith also triggers the Phantom to come in, but we do have a bit of time here, so get back into the Wraith immediately so you don't get sniped. Take a couple of shots at this Wraith, and then look to the sky to the left here, and you should see the Phantom coming in. Shoot the underside of the Phantom to kill the Ghost it's going to drop, then turn your attention back to the Wraith here. So if you notice, when that Elite just died, he dropped his Plasma Rifle. For the speed run strategy only, we want to take this Plasma Rifle, and then we are going to go up the stairs here and get on the Scarab early. You're also going to want to kill this Marine in front of us with the rocket launcher for some ammo. You can either get 3 or 4 rockets from him. So the old method to board the Scarab early involved 2 different grenade jumps, and then looking at a specific point and listening for a specific audio cue, but there is a much easier method to board the Scarab that you can learn quite quickly. It is very, very consistent, and the margin for error is very large. It starts the same way here. You're going to want to get onto this pole and then crouch, throw a grenade, and do this grenade jump up to this radio tower. And that is right about where the similarities to the old method end. I'm going to put a link in the description to the video where I learned this method, so you can go check that out. It really is shockingly easy. It is so much easier than the old board method. Basically, you wait for the Scarab to come at you, put your reticle roughly there, and then when you see his leg get at the top of the point right here, just hold back and jump and hold back the rest of the time you are boarding the Scarab, and it will just put you right onto it. So, in order to trigger the end of the level, you have to kill the 2 specific red elites and the white elite that spawn at the front of the Scarab near the control panel. But in order to actually spawn those specific 3 elites, we have to be down in the belly. So, we are going to go wait right at the bottom of this ramp and keep an eye to our left here. As soon as the Scarab starts rocking heavily side to side, you know they're about to spawn. As soon as you see that Grunt spawn there, run back up because an elite will be chasing you. Run around to the left of that wall there and get right into this little alcove next to the Scarab's head. This will allow us to drop down into this magical area right here where we are basically safe from all enemy fire, but we can still fire on the enemies, and we'll use the plasma rifle to speed things up a little bit here, although it's not totally necessary. It's also important to note that you can only see through this wall on classic graphics. You cannot see through on anniversary. But anyway, that brings us to the end of the speedrun portion. Looks like the time was right around 5 minutes there, but I'm going to go ahead and swap back to the alternative run now and show a little bit of a different way to deal with the Wraith. It is still mostly the same, but I just get out and deal with these 2 Jackal snipers so we are safe from them. The slight downside to this method is that now that the Wraith has moved down the road a little bit more, its AI is slightly less predictable, but we do have much more peace to deal with it here now. As you can see, the Wraith did try to send me to the Shadow Realm there, so we are going to go ahead and mount it and beat him senseless for his sins. The rest of this Wraith section really is mostly identical to what we do in the speedrun route. We are going to get back into the Wraith, and then we're going to turn around and take a couple of shots at the other Wraith, and then we are going to turn our attention to the upper left and deal with the Phantom. Just shoot the ghost, shoot the cannon, you know the drill. And then we do not need to get the plasma rifle this time, we can just go on with the battle rifle. And I'm going to go ahead and cut ahead about a minute here because it's just climbing stairs and waiting for the Scarab to blow up a tank. So we are now at the Scarab fight here. We're going to want to turn to the right and grab the rocket launcher here and the ammo. So you could just jump down onto the Scarab at this point and engage those guys in combat, but instead we are going to stay up here a bit longer and board on the next bridge, and in the meantime we are going to abuse the combination of Sputnik and Boom to just knock a bunch of enemies off of the deck of the Scarab as they come up. And you definitely can jump down and deal with these guys directly, but with both Boom and Sputnik on, you do run a bit of a risk of just blowing yourself off the side of the Scarab as well, as we are currently doing to these guys. With those two skulls on, this method just seems much easier and much safer, and probably much faster, as if you were down there on the Scarab with them, you would have to be bobbing and weaving and avoiding their fire as well. So I'm going to go ahead and board on the second bridge here. If you so choose, you can go get more rocket ammo up ahead and then board on the third bridge, or wait until it's at the end, whatever you'd like. I'm going to throw some grenades down here to get some Grunt funeral explosions going on. Always be wary of flying Grunt bodies like that one that just passed me right there. And I believe it is almost time to go down into the belly and start feeding these guys some rockets. I have 3 left here. I'm just going to start shooting them at the front of the console, and I mistakenly thought I killed that red elite there. And I see something coming at me here on my radar, so I shoot a rocket toward the bottom, and I end up sending the plasma pistol right to oblivion. I see the one on the ground to the right in the middle of the room there, but I'm afraid they might be able to kill me before I'm able to get to it, so I decide to instead pretend like it's the first room of Gravemind. It's absolutely ineffective, since the Needler is the worst weapon in Halo 2, but fortunately there is a second one up on the ramp there, so I just dual wield and start tearing into the elites here. I highly recommend you grab a plasma pistol if you can, because it makes this room much less embarrassing to deal with. I see a beam rifle on the ground here, so instead of noob combo with this last guy, I decide to dance with him a little bit and use the beam rifle to kill him. Then I swap to anniversary graphics right at the end there for this nice, beautiful cutscene. And that is the end of Metropolis. I really hope you find something in this run that can help you. Maybe mix and match strategies if you were having too much trouble with one. It does go fairly quickly either way. I believe our standard speedrun was a little over 5 minutes, and then our alternative strategy run was about 8:40 or so. So even both of those combined would be a little under 14 minutes, and the par time for this level is 15. But I would absolutely go into this level with the mindset that you are probably going to have to revert to checkpoint a few times during the course of the run. Namely, the Warthog run through the tunnel might take a few tries if you decide to go with that strategy. The Wraith board might take a few tries, and it's just a really dangerous level. But I think we have just about reached the end of the level here. One more time, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the video that I used to learn that Scarab board method. I highly recommend giving that a shot. But I believe that is it. Thanks again for watching. I will leave you with the rest of this cutscene, and I will see you in the next one.